Hello, my Puffy Taco Fiends. The name is GSPA Pro, aka Phoebe, and I'm finally making a part 2 of my How I Use Flipaclip video. If you haven't seen the first one, don't mind it because this one will be way more in depth. I'm not using the premium pack so that everyone can do these tricks, and I'm also broke, so I will get right into it because I feel like I failed with the original video. So let's start with the basics.
Konnichiwa, senpai!
I briefly spoke about this in my original video, so I thought I'd explain some things. When you first open the app, it looks like this. I'm on my phone instead of my tablet right now, so I'm not really used to how it looks. Here you can see your projects and finished products, or movies. To make a new project, you just press the plus sign at the bottom of the screen. Next, you'll see this. This is where you can change some things. First, you can change the name. There isn't much to explain, you just type. So, on to backgrounds. You can change backgrounds whenever, but I usually start with a greenish textured paper, so it's up to you. Next is canvas size. This is when you change the size of your workspace. They also label them based on the app or website you can use them on. I obviously use the YouTube one a lot, so I'll be using that. You can't change this later unless you copy your project and change it there, but it will squish the art you did originally. Now you can change the frame rate. Most people stick to the default 12 frames per second. I like to use 14 to 16 FPS, but I have done animations in 20 FPS. A few people have mentioned this in my comment section, so you can use whatever frame rate you'd like, but I'll give you a few examples of what you could use for each type of animation. When doing a tweened animation, you should use a higher frame rate so it looks a bit smoother. When doing frame-by-frame animation with only 2 to 4 frames per movement, I suggest using the default 12 frames per second. Lastly, if you do frame-by-frame animation with around 5 to 10 frames per movement, like I do, you can use 14 to 16 FPS. Now that we have our project set up, we can talk about the useful tools in Flipaclip. At the top there are 2 rows of tools. The first row has the ruler tool, the copy and paste buttons, the undo and redo buttons, and the canvas position reset tool. With the ruler you can make perfect lines, ellipses, and rectangles. The copy, paste, undo, and redo buttons are pretty self-explanatory, but I did get a ton of comments about them on my last video.
This is unfortunate.
Here are some quick examples of me using these tools. On the second row we have the brushes and pens, the eraser, the loop selection tool, the paint bucket, and the useless text tool. I'll explain my hatred for the Flipaclip's text tool in a moment. There are a few brushes and pens to choose from. The default is a pen. It's completely opaque at first, but you're able to change the size and opacity with these 2 sliders. If you drag your finger up and down, it changes either of these things. Next are the hidden ones. You'll have to press on the pen again to see them. The pencil is more grainy and is a lot more transparent. The paintbrush feathers out a bit at the end of each stroke, and the highlighter is a square brush, and the default opacity is around 50%. The eraser is, well, an eraser. You can change the size, softness, and opacity. The loop select tool is probably my favorite way to erase things, actually. I can just select the part I want and delete it, using the little trash can in the corner. You can also use this to select specific parts of the drawing and move them. The paint bucket is just like every other paint bucket tool. You can use these to simply fill in closed spaces with color. Now I will explain why I hate the text tool that Flipaclip provides. You probably understand what I mean. Now I will give more in-depth animation tips based on the comments I got in my last video. To add music, there's a small music note in the corner. With that, you can either add a music file or audio file you have, or you can record it directly onto your tablet or phone. I usually just add my audio later in the process when I'm editing. To mess with layers, there's a set of 3 papers in the corner that will show you all of your layers. You can change the opacity, and you can add more. If you don't have premium, you can only use 3 layers at a time. If you click the 3 dots in the top right corner, you can see the project settings, the frames viewer, the onion skin, grid, add image, add video, and making movie. The project settings is where you can reset the background, frame rate, and name. Once again, you cannot change the canvas size. The frames viewer is where you can see all of your frames in a grid with a number labeling which frame they are. The onion skin is used to see a more transparent version of your earlier frame on the next frame that you're on. It's sort of like a window into the last frame you used. I don't really use the grid since it's sort of distracting for me, but you can do whatever you want with that. To add an image or a video, you just choose the Add Image or Add Video, and choose something from your camera roll or files. If you don't have Premium, you can only add a 6-second video. Once you're done with your animation, you can choose Make Movie. I hope this video helped a lot more than the last one, and I'll probably do a few more like this if I have the time and energy. But anyways, this was Jesus Pro, signing out. Bye-bye.